Been almost 10 years since the program was created, and I remember the discussions around the chairs table and with others as we talked about what this program could be. And I think that what it responds to is a need for enriched programming for really outstanding, high-achieving, curious, engaged, and open students that was interdisciplinary. And that was a key point, right? That we wanted to be able to provide our students with a toolkit and a range of experiences from a number of different arts and humanities disciplines so that we could start to break down some of the barriers that were kind of institutionally set up among the different disciplines. We also wanted to provide experiential learning for this cohort, for the SASAH cohorts, so that they would be connected with our community beyond the campus. So whether it was here locally in London, Ontario, or Southwestern Ontario, or whether far beyond that, internationally, we really were thinking about finding ways to engage the Faculty of Arts and Humanities beyond the campus and beyond the classroom. So we wanted to create a program that was unique and that would provide something that wasn't available anywhere else with a certain investment of enriched resources, but really as a kind of a model for what an arts and humanities education could look like. You know, I think traditionally, Western being situated as it is, kind of separate from the downtown core of the university, there's sometimes been, and because so many students leave the campus for the whole summer, there has sometimes been this sense in the London community that Western is not a part, right? And that, you know, the students come and they go and they don't really participate in the larger community of the city. And so I think it's really important for London to have a good sense of the kinds of students and the kinds of programming that those students are having to be educated in, and how it's preparing those students to be useful members of their communities, of their organizations. I think that since SASAH and other programs across the campus have started to focus more on this kind of beyond the boundaries of the campus, public humanities types of programming, I think we've forged some really wonderful relationships with different organizations in the downtown core, but again, as I say, you know, across the country and internationally. I think it's also been really important for our students to realize that they are living in a community that is so much more than this beautiful campus with its beautiful buildings, right? That, you know, we have all kinds of populations living in London, Ontario, that have all kinds of wonderful things to teach us. So I love my own discipline, which is classical studies. I love reading ancient Greek literature and studying that with students. But the first time I taught in the SASAH program was absolutely transformative, and that change continues. I'm never quite comfortable in SASAH, and you know, I've often been kind of laid awake at night wondering, oh my goodness, how is this class going to go? But what I've learned, and that's been beautiful, really beautiful and astonishing and wondrous to watch, is that it's not always, or even most of the time, important for the instructor in the classroom to be the expert in the room. Of course, we have things to show students. We have facts to share with them, important background. But what's really exciting about SASAH, with its small classes and largely discussion-based and often student-driven curriculum, what's really beautiful to see is that an instructor can play the role of a facilitator of students directing their own learning and figuring out what are the questions that they need to answer in order to get to where they need to go. And to me, seeing how well students do that for themselves individually, but also in collaboration with each other, is absolutely miraculous and wonderful. And I don't think I will ever teach in my own discipline the same way again after teaching in SASAH. I think that's one of the real gifts that SASAH brings to the faculty, is that as different faculty members come into SASAH and grapple with this kind of different sort of pedagogy, that it then has this ripple effect because they bring it back, right, to their own programs, no matter how large or small a class they might be teaching. Right. I think that one of the things that we really, we really need to be clear about when we are interviewing students coming into the program is that they do have to be open to whatever it is that comes at them in each particular classroom. And you're right, even though some of our professors are kind of by nature interdisciplinary, right? And they have experience in a number of different realms. Others are more, they do come more from a particular discipline, whether it be philosophy or classics or visual art or wherever that might be. And I think that, so students don't really have a choice always about what they don't have a choice about what courses they will take in the SASAH program. Where their choice comes in often is more about how they're going to complete their assignments and what kind of an approach they're going to take to the questions that are given to them. I've had so many students say to me, I never thought of myself as someone who was interested in film or film festivals, but I had to take this course in second year that was about sort of the anthropology of film festivals and the socioeconomic structure of film festivals. And, this is just an example, like the student will say, that changed my life, right? I realized that this is fascinating. I myself taught a second year course, and it was focused on the Iliad. We used the Iliad to explore the phenomenon of anger, both public, collective anger, but also individual anger. And I had a lot of students who thought, I am not interested in the Iliad, this 2,500-year-old Western, foundational text. But I think by the end of it, what they had been able to use the Iliad for their own purposes and found that it was, in fact, a really rich and valuable text. And I think if we can open the eyes of our students to the wealth of different artifacts and texts and, sort of cultural phenomena that are out there, that's something that they'll have all their lives, and they might not have if they've just decide, well, I'll take this course and that course and this course and that course from a much broader palette. So in a way, it's like any art, right? When you have some restrictions on what you're doing, it can actually nurture a certain kind of creativity of approach to how you're going to solve that particular problem, if that makes sense. That shift, originally the rule was that students had to take their second major in arts and humanities. But of course, as students come to university, they learn that what they thought they were going to do when they got here isn't always what they end up deciding they really want to do most. And, we do have so many students who are interested in topics in the social sciences, and those are a natural complement to what we do in arts and humanities, or even the sciences. And so it really was a response to growing student demand for the ability to choose a major that was outside of arts and humanities. I am completely in favor of that, because what I see in the classroom is students bringing to the discussion group what they've learned in a political science class or in a mathematical design class. There are so many different perspectives that can be brought back from all of these different disciplines. And I think it really enriches the discussion that we're having in the classroom. And it really brings students alive to how much more important it is to work collaboratively with others rather than to always be depending on just what you yourself have to bring to whatever problem it is you want to solve. Creating these communities of learning, creating these communities of problem solving makes for so much more potential to respond to problems than if we are only just bringing, everyone in the room has done the same set of 2 years of certain courses for a particular discipline. It's not that I'm against disciplinary learning. I think it's extremely important and valuable, but that our SASAH students do a disciplinary major and then the interdisciplinary one, I think is kind of a beautiful combination of the best of both worlds. They bring that focused knowledge back, and likewise, when they go back into their other major, that classroom, they're able to share this kind of more broad-ranging, sweeping perspective on some of the things that are being discussed. Well, you mentioned experiential learning, and of course there are possibilities for experiential learning for all kinds of students from all kinds of different programs if they go after it and if they're interested. The difference with SASAH is they have to do it. and we provide them with really good support to be able to pursue those opportunities in the best way possible with good supervision, and it's a really valuable learning experience. I think that beyond that, there's so many things in SASAH that we can offer the students that, again, come from, it's an investment, but it's not a huge investment, right? If you have small classes and a little bit of extra resources, you can do so much more. The payback is enormous. So whether it comes to, a SASAH speaker series, right, where we have guests coming in, often connected to whatever is happening in a particular classroom, right, but bringing another larger perspective to the classroom discussion, whether it is meetings with our advisory council and the opportunities for networking and mentoring with the members of the advisory council who can talk to our students about how to connect with people that might be able to help them with their careers or give them advice about graduate programs. That's something that other programs just don't have available. If there is mentoring, it's from professors, which is valuable, of course, especially if students are going into postgraduate programs. But it's not the same as being able to talk to people who are working in publishing or nonprofits or banking or law or whatever it might be that students are interested in. I think also the fact that in SASAH, I keep mentioning the small classrooms, but I think that that's key, right? Because it means that with each classroom and each one having a teaching assistant, students are getting a lot of feedback and a lot of individual attention to the work that they're doing. Again, that's not the case for so many of the disciplines where classes are really large and your professor may not even know who you are. So again, I think there's a place for those kinds of classes and courses, absolutely. But I think for students, the real formation comes when you are interacting with professors and other students to try to solve problems or respond to the kind of mysteries and enigmas that all of these cultural artifacts can present us with. I do think that because of the cohort structure of SASAH, that SASAH students tend to form really strong bonds as they move through the program. Even, like yourself, right? So many of our students after their first year in residence will choose to carry on and share houses together. So these are kind of lifelong friendships that get built. And so now as we enter into the 10th year of SASAH, we will have seen 6 cohorts graduate, which is not a huge number, but it's starting to be enough that we're seeing, right, this growing number of alumni who are emerging into their own careers. They are graduating from PhD programs. They are becoming senior members, some of them in the organizations that they work in. And they are pretty ready to credit their SASAH training for the successes that they're having. And I think, again, because of the kind of student that SASAH attracts in the first place, they tend to be very community-minded students who like to give to the community. Our alumni, too, are pretty ready to give back to SASAH. The advisory council is only now beginning to have actual SASAH alumni, but they are, for the most part, arts and humanities alumni. And they really believe in the value of an arts and humanities education for any number of kinds of career paths that might seem quite unrelated to arts and humanities. But now, one of the things that we're going to be looking for in the next few years is with this growing number of alumni that we have, is how to make sure that we have a strong group there as well who are part of our community. And part of the sort of 10-year celebrations, I think, will be very instrumental in, I hope, pulling that community together and celebrating what SASAH has meant to each of those people, at reestablishing networks, making new friends. And I think that that's a tremendous strength that SASAH brings. Yeah, well, I mean, I think I would always say that the greatest strength of SASAH is the students, right? I think that when you take the time, as we do, to recruit students who seem clearly curious and open and engaged and ready to be part of a community, then you've already got a beautiful recipe for something really wonderful to happen. And again, we were just talking about alumni, but as our students have traveled through the program and graduated and spread out into the community, I see the future of SASAH being partly made up of the impact that our students are having out there, but also bringing that back to the SASAH program. When I think about our founding director, Joel Faflak's accomplishment in designing this program from scratch and 1 year at a time building it, right? And then Patrick Mann, the next director, adding a certain amount of structure and cohesion between the different years and bringing his own experience and background to the mix. I think that, I kind of totally humbled to be the director after those two people who I consider to be giants in arts and humanities. But I think that for the future, what I would love to see is I would love to see SASAH grow. I think SASAH is ready now. It's very well established. We are starting to enjoy some resources available to us. We do need to solidify that so that everything is quite sustainable. But I would love to really ramp up our recruitment efforts and start looking at increasing our faculty cohort so that we could grow the program and increase its impact here in the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, but also out into the larger world. I guess, I think we've covered most of the things. When people start getting me talking about SASAH, it's hard to get me to shut up. I guess I would really just want to say what an honor it is to work with the students of SASAH. They are absolutely amazing, and they've taught me so much, and they fill me with a kind of wonder that makes life worth living on the worst days. So I would thank the students.